Hi everyone, and welcome to Autism and Neurodiversity Coaching's Neurodiverse Universe podcast with myself, Ben Holmes from Autism and Neurodiversity Coaching. Just a little bit about our company in case it's the first podcast you're listening to. We offer training for businesses, coaching for individuals, public speaking. We have an online content library as well, and I like to be involved in lots of other neurodiversity related things. You can visit our website at www.autism&NeurodiversityCoaching.co.uk. We also have a partner company called Autistic Army. It's www.autisticarmy.com. So today we have a guest with us, so neurodiversity consultant, trainer, coach, a couple of other things as well, which I'm sure she'll explain. So it's Toni Horn. So welcome to the show, Toni.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. So as I do with all the podcasts, I'll ask you a few sort of standard questions I normally ask, and then we'll see where it goes.
Sounds great.
So first question normally asked, depending on what condition you have or however you use that terminology. So when we actually diagnosed as autistic?
So I was quite a late diagnosis, just like many women that I know that I'm talking to a lot these days. So I was actually formally diagnosed in January this year, so very recent.
Yeah.
I've been working within neurodiversity now for about 5 years, so I think the more I learn, the more I got to understand it, the more I could see some familiarities within myself.
Yeah.
So I then took the plunge and went for the diagnostics, and actually got a formal diagnosis.
Okay, brilliant. And how did the diagnosis process go for you? Like how long did it take to sort of get the diagnosis, and how did you find the whole process itself?
Stressful. I'm not going to lie. It's a very stressful process. I was fortunate enough that I could pay privately, because the waiting list on the NHS is just incredibly long. And I'm a very impatient person. I'm not going to lie. When I want something done, I want it done there and then. But the whole process itself, from start to finish, the mountains of questionnaires that you get, just question after question, having to relive things from back when you was a child and childhood, and they go deep. You have to go back quite far, and then having to get my parents to do a questionnaire, my partner to do a questionnaire. It's quite invasive, I'm not going to lie. The one part I did respect about it is that whilst I was going through this process, they have a consultant to come and do like a consultancy to see where you are in your head, whether they feel that you might need some additional support because of the process itself. I think was a really important stage of that. And then you have to go through a different consultancy, which I'm not going to lie, there was still some stereotypical questions within the assessment. And it was kind of, oh, you don't fit that stereotype. Well, okay, but you're telling me, so I'm ticking these boxes, but I'm not ticking that box, which is kind of like, okay, so I thought we were past this. So that can be stressful in itself. And then you literally just get an email, ding, on your desk going, confirmation, you have been fully, officially diagnosed, da, 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 da. And there was no call, no nothing. It was just an email.
Right, okay.
And a letter. So, it went on for about, I started the process in November and it finished in January. So a good 3 months. Okay.
Yeah, seems, I mean, I went down the paid diagnosis for the same reasons as yourself, but mine was quite different to that. So that's interesting that you've had that method, I guess. So I got told on the day, I went, had a I was filling loads of questionnaires beforehand, as you've said, and then my consultation lasted about 4 hours, and then at the end of it, she said, "Yeah, I can confirm that you're autistic." So yeah, that's interesting that you got it via an email. So yeah, that's yeah.
About 2 weeks to debate on everything and consider that all the interviews and the questionnaires and everything else. So it's stressful enough. So you've gone through all that and you've got, okay, I've got to wait another 2 weeks now.
God. Yeah, no, that's different. I've not come across any others that have had that, but obviously there must have been. So what did a diagnosis mean to you, and why did you pursue it specifically?
What did it mean to me? It kind of just clarified what I already knew, but having a professional opinion.
Yeah.
I could self-diagnose. I respect people that do self-diagnose, but there is just this thing in me that I have to have answers to everything, and that's why I research absolutely everything that I do. So to have that in writing was the important part for me. It was just to clarify what I was thinking was right, is what the professionals were saying was right. But has it changed anything for me? Not really, because I'm still me. I'm still Toni. I still absolutely love, I suppose it's just given me a bit of more of a passion of the reason why I do what I do and the reason I do the job that I do. But apart from that, not really. It was just the that itchy feeling of just wanting to know for certain, I suppose, more than anything.
Yeah, I understand that. So it's not changed you at all, it just confirms what you already knew or thought. How did it change you once you sort of figured out that you was autistic, or that you might be? Was the moment you realized, was there any specific time you can remember, or was it just a bit of a blur? Or
it just put a little bit of the pieces of the puzzle together, more than anything, of understanding there were certain things that I did that others didn't. There were certain things why I reacted in certain ways and others didn't. And I think it just, we talk a lot about labels, and some people don't like having labels, and others, don't mind having labels, and that's everyone else's different preference. And I think I've always had a label because I've always known I was dyslexic from the age of 17. So I've always been in that label category. But I think what it's done now, it just builds a community. When you have the label, and I don't mind being called an autistic woman, with dyslexia or whatever it may be, a neurodivergent individual, just, if you've got, it's like having a pack. You belong to a pack, and that's how I see it. You belong to a tribe. Yeah, people that you can relate to. And I think that's what it's done. It's just brought a little bit more relatability to be able to fit in with a crowd of people or individuals that just can understand who you are. And I think that's what the label brings for me.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. Sort of have similar views myself. So yeah, totally understand that. How did your family and friends react once you said you was autistic? Did they react in any particular way, good, bad, or neither, really?
Complete denial.
Okay.
Complete denial. So my mum, as my brother, we've known, my brother's got cerebral palsy, but he's also got autism, and his autism is completely different to mine. He has different ways of doing things differently to I do. So we've always been very aware of it. I think my family, some of them are quite surprised because I'm quite an open person, but I've always been a professional person. So I've been in a corporate world since the age of 20. So I've learned the mask of masking. And it just becomes a natural habit to do, because I think whether you're neurodivergent or if you're not, in a professional situation, we all mask in some element. We call it the work voice, don't we? Some people go in and they put the work voice on, or their work hysteria. They act differently at work than they would do personally sometimes. And it's just the way that corporate world fits. So I've always had that mask on. And it's become a natural habit. So I think when my friends found out, some of them, a couple of them were like, you know, we don't see you any different. You're Toni. It's great. You know, you are who you are. We've known you since you were like knee high. And others have said, oh, well, we just don't get it. And that's fine. So yeah, there's been a bit of a denial. There's been a bit of mixed emotion, but nobody's treated me any differently, which is absolutely fine, because, you know, I'm 40 now. These are you like who you don't by now. You can't move it all, you get off the train, you know.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, I totally understand that as well. I got mixed sort of feedback. A lot of people, well, pretty much anyone I told to start with, they just flat out disagreed, denied it, just like, no, you're not. And I was self-diagnosed for like a year, and I sort of left it because I sort of started to believe what others were saying no, you can't be. But then I was like, no, I definitely am. So that's when I pursued, similar to what you've gone through. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, they can either accept it or they can't. But you know, you're not going to change, are you? And you shouldn't do. And there you go. So, but it's good that you still have some support there as well, and you know, positive feedback. Have you? I think you touched on this earlier on, but have you had much support from any companies or authorities, anything since diagnosis, or not?
No, I mean, because of the work that I do, I think I'm very quite self-sufficient in that sense. I myself, you know, coach and work with a lot of autistic individuals that all the time, and the one thing that never ceases to amazes me is how all completely unique that we are, and different we are. And I don't feel that I've needed any support. With my dyslexia, I think I was in denial for a long time, that I thought that, you know, I didn't need anything additional. I didn't need anything, you know, I just kind of got on with it. And then I was introduced to assistive technology, and now I couldn't be done without it. You know, I need that behind me to be able to do the certain things that I do. It's a game changer for me. So with the autism itself, no. Do I think at some point will I? Maybe. When things change, life changes, right? Situations changes, but I've not felt that I needed any support at the moment.
Yeah, that's good. In terms of, I mean, you mentioned dyslexia. Do you have any other conditions that you know of other than dyslexia?
No, so I've been dyslexic since I was 17. I got diagnosed at college. So it's just all I know of is dyslexia and autism. But when I look at some of the other you know, cognitive differences, I don't see myself with anything. I think a lot of them do cross over, right? There's a huge crossover, but nothing significant that I would sit there and go, you know, would that be me? Oh, it's definitely just the two, but there's nothing else there. I know that my husband has ADHD.
Okay.
With the work that I do, we're a very neurodivergent family. It's a crazy house, which is fun. It, you know, it keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Yeah, interesting dynamic there. Obviously, you've been autistic, your husband being ADHD. There'll be some similarities there, but then some differences, I'd imagine. So that'd, yeah, never boring, I'd imagine.
No, there's never a boring moment in this house.
So just on autism, a question I always like to ask people, because I like to see what different answers I get. Do you see autism as a disability or not?
No, I just see it as a different way of thinking. And I think there is a certain element of aspects of severity. Okay, so with any, the spectrum is so huge and wild. And it's everybody's individual preference whether they see it as a disability or not. I personally don't see it as a disability myself, but I've got people that I work with that do learning challenges because of their autism, and they will hold their hands up and say, it does, I need support, I need help, and they will say it's a disability. So I think it's to everyone's preference, really. I'd like to see a world where you can walk into the workplace and that disability box is not there. It's a box that says, what additional, do you feel that you might need additional support in your work?
Yeah.
Great. Let's get you a workplace assessment for that. What is it that you need as an individual? Not based on condition, based on a conversation with somebody to understand what it is that you need.
Yeah, no, it makes complete sense. Yeah. Like you've said, I mean, I agree, I don't think it is a disability, but I know people that do think it is. So I think it's, as you've said, it's worth pointing out, is everyone's opinion is valid on how they see, autism themselves. No, it's good. So I like to throw in some random questions just because. So what's your favorite color?
Purple.
Is there anything connected to that, or is it just that's your favorite color, or does it sort of make
It's just been for as long as I can remember. It's always been purple. I don't know what it's connected to. I don't know what I love about it. Yeah, it's just never changed. Never. Even like my sons now, if you think, what's mum's favorite color, they're like purple. But I don't have anything purple in my house, which is really strange.
No, interesting. I mean, yeah, I could get a wide range of different answers to that one. So yeah. What was I going to say now? Special interests. So do you have any special interests, and what are they?
So I'm a bit of a geek. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm a huge Disney fan. Massive Disney. And I think I was thinking about this the other day when somebody else asked me it. What is it about Disney that you like so much? And I think it makes me feel safe.
Yeah.
It was a go-to place when I was younger. My family were all very much into Disney films, and there was loads of Disney teddies. And I remember as a young girl, that was my safe space. I used to take my safe self into my room, and I'd sit with my Disney stuff. And I think it's just something that stuck with me, that's become my safe space. And then I had two boys, and then Marvel became a big thing in this house. And we absolutely, watched Marvel, and then Harry Potter, anything, magical, mysterious, we love within this house, which is a huge success and a big tick, that it's our go-to whenever we're feeling a bit down or the weather's rubbish outside, that we can sit there and cuddle up on the sofa and do that as a family.
Yeah, no, it's lovely. No, I understand that. As you said about it being safe for you, linking back to your childhood when you felt a certain way, and how it can make you feel now as well. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So if you were to meet a celebrity or someone historical from the past, who would that be and why? And you can pick a few people if you want, or you can say none. I don't want to meet any, or I can't think of any.
I'd actually like to meet Steven Spielberg. As a fellow neurodivergent himself. I just think his mind's so creative, and I'm a big film buff as well. And if I think about all the and I'm an 80s child, so I'm always going to go with the 80s films, like E.T., Indiana Jones, even now, the big BFG. I would love to sit and have a conversation about how he directs and creates these marvelous pieces. I just think he's quite fascinating. So I think he's the one person I'd like to sit down and have a really good conversation about his creativity and how he gets to that. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of Steven Spielberg, so I'd like to meet him.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. Yeah, I think it'd be an interesting chat, and like you say, the creativity and where he gets his ideas from, how he comes up with all the ideas he does would be a really good conversation, I think. So just with what you do work-wise, I mean, this is where we could just talk about anything really, but I'll start off with whereabouts are you based, and do you do your work online or in person or both? How do you sort of do that?
So a bit of both. So I'm based in Essex. I don't know if you can tell by the strong Essex accent. So I in person, if I do in person coaching or training, is mainly in Essex or London, because London's literally a stone throw on the train for me, which is not so bad. But we also do virtual training as well. So there's quite different elements of training for me. I've got what we call is the workplace training. I also designed a CPD certified leadership training module for neurodiversity.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because the 3 years that I was working in Barclays as the neurodiversity lead, there was a common theme around leadership of, you know, I don't feel that I can talk to my leader because I don't understand it, or my leader, I've gone through a workplace assessment, they think everything's fixed because I've got this technology, or my leader's absolutely brilliant, but they've now moved on and I've got to start all over again. And this common thing which is coming through all the time. So there was a big passion of mine to kind of support small to medium businesses that don't have that corporate backing to be able to go in and, you know, train their leadership as well. But also the one-to-one stuff that I do with individuals that are, you know, have had access to work or whatever it may be, just supporting those. And I've recently as well just designed what I call as the dyslexia toolkit training.
Yep.
And the reason for that is because for many years, I didn't really understand what dyslexia meant for me and what the strengths were. I just knew the annoying things that I had to wrestle with every day, like not being able to spell the word Wednesday ever in my life, or the word business that I have to write 20 times a day. I just knew about the stuff that I wrestled with, but not the stuff that I was really good at. So I've designed a kind of a dyslexia toolkit training. So for those who are dyslexic, to really get underneath who they are and understand all the great stuff that they can achieve, but also all the little strategies that can help them, support them with the things that they wrestle with throughout the day. And you just see this light bulb moment in some people, and that's the best bit about my job, when you see that that's really going to help me. And I love that when I hear that, or I get some really positive feedback how just something simple has completely changed their way of working. So that's why I do what I do, is the being able to support and help people like us, you know, get the best out of themselves, but also get the best out of, you know, line managers to get the best out of their workforce as well, and be more supportive.
No, that's great to hear. I mean, there's a few things I want to ask you on that. I'm just trying to think which one to pick first, but just with the I'll come back to your sort of work background in a second, in terms of, because I'm interested in the corporate side of it, and obviously when you started your own company and the whole process of that. But just on dyslexia, so how does it affect you, dyslexia, in sort of good ways or bad ways, you know, strengths, struggles, etc.?
Yeah, so I'm not one to say that it's a power, and I know others do, which is absolutely fine. But for me, it can be a hindrance. I have to work harder than those that don't have dyslexia. You know, every day I have to write something, check it, recheck it, use assistive technology, having to use, you know, I can't simply just sit and write an email like some people can. It takes me a lot longer. So there is that element to it. But then I look at all the things that I can do, like putting pieces of the puzzle together. I never understood why I could somebody will give me a problem and they will sit there for ages and ages trying to resolve this problem. And then I'd look at it and go, well, have you tried that? And they'll go, how have you just literally just thought about that in 2 seconds? Because my brain's just connected it all and gone, ding. Well, there's your little piece of the puzzle. Just put that in there, and you've solved it. And I never understood that was a strength of picture thinking style. And it wasn't until I really got the training and understood who I was. So that's a huge advantage. Or some people, just being able to, is quite funny. And this is a personal one as well. I'll look in my living room. My husband will get the tape measure out and he'll be measuring and he'll be all this and it has to be accurate. And I'll just look at it and I'll go, oh no, that will fit in there. That's fine. And not even measure it. And we'll go and buy it and it'll fit. And he's like, how do you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. It just can. It's just something I'm really good at. And there's so much more to it. I could sit here forever and talk about the strengths of thinking differently. But there is two sides to the coin. There is the frustrating side, but there's also the positives as well that makes us unique.
Yeah, no, fully agree with that. So dyslexia because I know some people who are dyslexic, and obviously everyone's different, but one of the things I usually pick up on is that quite a few dyslexic people tend to be better practically, or at least better practically than I am, because I'm not very good practically. Would you say you're quite, from linking into what you've said there, would you say you're quite good in that sense? Sort of practical things like, I don't know, not necessarily like building things, but like you've said, you could understand how things will fit in spaces and things like that. Does it transfer to other practical things, or do you have challenges with that?
Do you know, when somebody asks me this question, it always makes me think about back when I was at school, when you used to go on those Wales trips. You got put together in a team and you had to build a raft.
Yeah.
And my raft would always win. Because everyone would rush in and do it, and I'd stand back and say, well, no, why didn't we do this and do this? And I could just image it and I'd picture it in my mind before I built it. And the raft would always win. And everyone would be like, oh, we want to go on Tony's team. The raft wins all the time. It doesn't sink. So I think that element to it, because I'm not, I don't enjoy doing practical stuff, but if I do it, I do find it easy to do. Which is, I used to do a lot of dance and drama and things like that, and I absolutely loved it. And I think a lot of my masking as well for my autism came from my theatre training, which is kind of like it's a completely different story. But yeah, I think we are very, very good at, I'm gone right around the houses now, but yeah, we're good at practical stuff.
No, nothing wrong with that. I found it all useful. So yeah, don't know about that. So I was trying to think if there's anything else to dyslexia. So because I'm not dyslexic, so I like to learn more about. I mean, I've got lots of other things. I've got pretty much everything apart from dyslexia, but yeah. So I do find it really, really interesting. So in terms of like reading and writing, you've said like writing emails can be hard. You've got to keep checking over everything. So when you're reading things, do you like jumble things up, or what? Could you explain that process of how that works that makes you struggle, sort of writing?
Yeah, I think the jumble of words is actually quite it's an old concept of dyslexia. That particularly doesn't happen for me. Whether it happens to somebody else, it's a bit like the autism spectrum. It's far and wide. Everybody's literacy skills in dyslexia are different. So I've got a friend who's dyslexic, and their way of working, reading and writing is completely different to mine. There's things that they struggle with that are common to me, but there's things that they do completely different to I am. So there was a study done, I think it was in like the 1980s or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. But when they tested children with dyslexia, each of them had a different literacy difference. They weren't all the same. So particularly in my reading, I actually find reading quite okay. The only time I stumble is when I come across a new word that I've not read before or not seen. So it does come with recognition as well. So if I was to read a new, a new research paper and there is loads of words on there that I've never seen before, I won't be able to read it. So I have to then, you have to kind of look them up. You have to use the thesaurus and kind of, go, and Google's a great thing for dyslexia. You just copy and paste it and Google it. And then it will tell you exactly what it means. So for me, that's the big thing I struggle with, but also concentration. So my with dyslexia, your working memory can be it can tire quite quickly if you're doing a lot of reading or literacy work, and it's about understanding how that part of your brain works to minimize the stress on it for you not to be impacted as much as you could be when reading and writing as such. So I know my limit. If I'm reading a book and then I start to lose what I'm reading or where I'm getting, or stop concentrating, I know it's time to stop. And that's frustrating because especially if you're reading something that you really enjoy reading, you just got to put it down. But the podcasts are really good as well because I actually quite enjoy listening and reading at the same time. I find that a lot easier because somebody's saying the word and I'm reading it, which is then making me familiar with it, which actually has improved my reading skills over time.
Yeah. No, I see that. Yeah, it makes sense. So in terms of autism, how does that affect you? Like how, so obviously everyone who's autistic has different strengths, different things they struggle with, etc. So how do you describe how it affects you in any way, I guess?
The positives of my I'm very much, I've got this power for justice constantly. Like if anybody does, I'll sit there and say, well, everyone can say they don't like liars, but if anyone, I'm like, no, it just overwhelms me when I hear things that have been done incorrectly. And I think that's probably why I've done really well in banking, because I never done anything wrong. I've done everything by the book, and I'm the kind of by the book kind of girl. And I would feel completely out of my comfort zone by doing something that wasn't right. So I do sometimes take things literally, which can be a hindrance, where if you're told to do something in one way, I would do it that way. And I have found, when I go back over things, I was thinking, that wasn't right. But that's why I was told to do it, and I've done it. So I do take things literally sometimes. And I have little habits at home that I have to have certain things, or certain things that I have to use. I'm really strict on timetables. My poor children have been in a routine since the day they were born. Some people say routine's really good for kids, but mine didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they didn't have a choice. Mum put a routine in and I stuck to that routine, and that was the end of it. So yeah, but the other aspects that you've made me really good at being organized, because actually there's a huge with dyslexia, there's a big trait of being unorganized. But what with me being dyslexic and autistic, that part of my brain goes, no, you're not going to be unorganized, you're going to be very organized, because you've got something to stick to, and if it's in the calendar, it gets done. So it's like a little fighting battle in my brain, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, so that's how some of my traits are with autism.
Yeah, and I can resonate with the battle. I mean, I've not got dyslexia, but I've got ADHD, so that has a very similar battle. Like autism likes to be on, for me anyway, autism likes to be on time. ADHD likes to do the opposite. So it's like that constant thing. If I meet someone in person, I'm often like 5 minutes late. It's like a running joke with a lot of people now, which annoys the hell out of me. But then I just end up planning to be on time, and I'm always 5 minutes late. Not always, but depends. I think it depends how important the thing is. Like if I've got an appointment, I've got to be there at a certain time. Otherwise, I'm going to miss the slot or whatever. Then I make sure I'm on time. But if it's like meeting a friend or something where I know they're going to let me off, I tend to be late. It's really frustrating. So I get that internal sort of struggle you may have. It's interesting you said with dyslexia that can have like not liking routines. It's I think it was routines you said a minute ago. Whereas
organizational skills.
And what, sorry?
Organizational skills.
Oh, sorry, that was it. So yeah, sorry. Yeah. So yeah, that's interesting. So in terms of your work, I mean, you can talk about as much or as little as you want, but have you, so looking back when you first started out, etc., did you sort of struggle in any ways, or did you always excel? And then yeah, just the process of being in the corporate world and then starting off on your own, like how did all that come together, I guess? If that's not too broad of a question and like too many things. Yeah.
No, not at all, not at all. So I was quite fortunate. I actually landed in banking in error. It wasn't the goal, that wasn't the dream job. But one of my friends recognized something in me, who was already working for Barclays. And she said, look, this job's going. I think you'd be really good at it. And it was like a personal banker in London, in Cheapside. And I said, all right, I'll go for the job. And I literally got the job on the spot. Because the interview process was a role play rather than your strict. And I think that's what helped as well, because obviously with my acting background, I think that's what helped. Because if it had been strict questions or something like a real formal interview, I probably wouldn't have got it. I probably would have just got so anxious, so nervous, I would have been out the door.
Yeah.
And I kind of just found my feet is in, I really enjoyed it. And there was something that I was good at. And once I've put my mind to something, that's it, I'm off. There's no stopping me. I've got a goal and that's it. I'm going to make that goal. And I now look back, and that was probably down to I'd probably mind being neurodivergent, that I was always wanting to do better. Yeah. But there was lots of stumbling blocks in the way that I got to a point. I fast-tracked quite easily through banking. I started off at, the lower grade, and then I come across and I become a relationship manager, and then I was a leader. But I couldn't get past a certain point. And the reason for that was because of their internal processes of interviewing. You had to do a numeric, digital, written time test, right? So someone with dyslexia who has to read the numeric question, process it, then answer it, just put me off. And I don't think I even attempted it. So I kind of just done what I did, and I was always exceeding every year with, I got all the best grades that you can get when they do your appraisals and things like that. And then I stumbled across, back then was the dyslexia support group. And I walked into this meeting. Well, it was a Zoom meeting. I joined this Zoom meeting, and it was just full of other like-minded individuals that all had dyslexia. And I was like, wow, I'm not alone.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I've always thought that, I've never spoke to anybody about it. I never talked to anybody about it. I never knew that there was anybody else in there. And back then I didn't know, like 1 in 10 was dyslexic and all the other numbers that come along. And it can feel like quite a lonely place. So for 15 years of my career, I never discussed it, never told anybody. I just soldiered on and just got on with what I needed to do, and just worked double hard. And then connecting with others, and then we became, I became part of the group, and then we become the neurodiversity group. And they asked me to support our colleagues. So I become the support pillar in neurodiversity. And the most important part about that role was listening.
Yeah.
Listening to what others were saying, listening to what they would need, listening to their frustrations, connecting them with people to have that support, connecting with others that they can just have a conversation with, and being that person who can then take that information back and saying, this needs to change, that needs to change. And which kind of led me to do what I'm doing now, because if they were only doing that then, I was there for 3 years doing that. if a large corporation like that are only just starting to get it and
Yeah.
start to work on it, it kind of made me think, how many more individuals out there or medium-sized businesses don't have this corporate banking and don't have the facility to do this? So I said, right, well, that's it. I want to do, because I was in leadership as well at the same time. And I said, right, I want to do this full time. I want to take this passion and I want to make a change.
Yeah.
Which led me to starting Think Differently Coaching.
Yeah, no, it's really good. Obviously, it's a big step, particularly in the sort of job you're in, to then leave that to do what you wanted to do now. So obviously, massive step, and you've got over that big hurdle by doing that. So, was there any concerns or anxiety or anything around starting for yourself, or was it just, I know I need to do this, I'm going to make so much difference and just go for it, or a bit of both?
It's a bit of both, right? So I've got responsibilities. I've got a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old. And it was like, oh, do I stay in employment or do I do this? And I think my driving force was actually my children in the end, because I don't want to be doing the training and the leadership training and the awareness training in 10 years' time. I want my children to be able to walk into a job and it be a natural thing. I know my oldest is dyslexic. And I want him to be able to walk into a company or a job or whatever it is he wants to do later on in life. And there be the support there, or it's just a natural thing. It's just part of their DEI. It's not, oh, by the way, so-and-so is dyslexic. It's just, oh, there's another diverse thinking mind that works for us.
Yeah.
That's my driving force, to change it for them, for when they don't feel like I did for 15 years alone or different.
Yeah.
They don't feel different when they walk into that. So that's the driving force for it, and it's for them. And also for myself, it's the self-consciousness of, and I think it brings it back to doing something that I feel that's right. I'm passionate about it. So yeah, that's the ultimate goal. The coaching I can do forever. Everybody always needs coaching, right? But the actual training itself, I don't want there to be a reason for it in 10 years.
Yeah, no, very good intentions there, and yeah, totally agree with all that. Yeah, I do think this myself. How long will it take? Will it ever happen where companies, like you said, it's normal that then, oh, the dyslexic, okay, it's not an issue if they don't get, there's nothing said about it in a negative way whatsoever. Yeah, I know a hell of a lot of companies still need all that, so there's a big task on for us all. But yeah, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think the last few years alone, the amount of coaches or trainers that are starting up is great. Yeah, there's that much that needs to be done still. And I think just for the corporate company we work for, I think even though from what you've said, they've still got things to do, they've already took a big step compared to many others. And I've worked in some corporate companies in the past where there's nothing, literally zilch on any of that. So yeah, there's levels to it, obviously, and a lot of it's just starting out, but it's moving the right direction. And like you say, for your kids in the next generation, etc., they will have it. It'll be better for them. So hopefully there'll be less people in mental health, care and stuff, because they're not understood, etc. So that's what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Create a world where different thinking minds just are them. They're no different to anybody else. They're just part of the team.
Yeah.
There's a huge benefit of having a diverse workforce.
Yeah, definitely. So are there any, other than what you've mentioned, are there any other goals that you have personally, things you want to achieve in the rest of your life? Is there anything in particular you want to do other than what you've said?
Not the particular amount. There is things that I do want, but they're just little things that are nibbling away at me at the moment. So to sit there and talk about them would, you know, I don't know if it's a thing yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've got many goals, but the main thing I want to do at the moment is just get in front of these people, have these great conversations. The best thing I think when you sit in a room full of individuals and you talk about neurodiversity, and when you talk about your own story, there's always one person you can see it click. You see them go, oh, I recognize that. That sounds familiar. And then you have a conversation with them after and the penny's dropped. And I think every time I do one of these training sessions, at least one person in a room full of 10, I will have that conversation with.
Yeah.
And to me, that is the most satisfying thing ever, when somebody just realizes and sees something, but then they can go away and get the support that they need, or discover who they really are, or just being able to be their true self is a huge positive for me. So I think the biggest thing that we do is sharing stories and talking about our own experiences is the most powerful thing we can do.
Yeah, no, that's a great thing. You've said there, like I say, you're doing a talk and someone resonates with what you're saying, and then, like I say, the penny drops. Because you feel a lot of, I'd imagine you feel a lot of, happiness in doing that. So, and if you're enjoying what you do, then brilliant, isn't it? So, yeah. So is there anything else you want to talk about with neurodiversity in general? So obviously, autism, dyslexia, the ones you're sort of mainly focused on. Is it?
No, Ben, I could sit here all day and talk about neurodiversity. I could bore your ears off with it, but I think I think I will leave that for next time. Otherwise, we'll be sitting, whoever's listening will be like, oh, she and half going on.
No, it's good that you can talk about it all day. It's good that there's other people that think that way as well, and really enjoy it and are passionate about it. So I think that's coming towards the end of the podcast. So it's been great having you as a guest, and I'm sure everyone listening will find a lot of value in what you're saying. All of it, dyslexia side of it, autism, and take a lot from your journey, in the sense of, you've been in the corporate world, you took that big leap to, without being cringy with that word, but I know it's thrown about a lot, but you did take a big leap to do what you do, and you're thriving in what you're doing and enjoying it. So, because there've been many others that are stuck in jobs they hate. I mean, just that alone, they'll be stuck in jobs. No, I'm not saying you hated that, sorry. But there'll be people in jobs where they think, I want to work for myself, I want to do whatever it is, and maybe someone listens to this think, oh, I might do that, or any of the other neurodiversity things you've mentioned, sort of take a lot from that. So yeah, so thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So thanks everyone for listening, and I'll catch you all next time.